Things done today. We're going to smooth our pot. We're going to choose designs we want to transfer and transfer them. And then we're going to make a test tile. Okay. So first of all, smoothing your pot. If you have like a lot of marks on your pot, that can be handled with a damp sponge or just your hand if it's still nice and soft. If you've got areas that are kind of thick and lumpy and bumpy, like I've got down here, something that helps, I think, is to rough up that area, or like maybe you've got a coil that still looks kind of like a coil, or a real area that's kind of thick. And then you can, once you're roughed up, you can take and you can smooth it or massage that clay out. So that's like distributing the clay, and it's not the dampness of my sponge that's doing the work. It was me tearing down the clay a little bit first before I tackled it. And then also if you go in two different directions, that can also be a help. Your ribs can help you today, but we're going to be coating this with underglaze. So you want the surface completely pristine. Okay, so that is your first task here. Once that is done, I want you to take a photo of it. Show me how clean your pots are. And again, some of you have more to do than others, but we are going to literally just very, very lightly. I want a lot of air going through that pot. I don't want it to get super bone dry, but I do want it to set up to leather. So if yours is already leather, then you can go a little tighter, but mine I know needed a loose bag. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. And then let's talk about our designs. So with the designs, I feel pretty confident that I can be sporadic and do these leaf designs and star and moon designs with confidence. So I'm not going to trace those, but I know that I need help with my lettering. I also need help with spacing and all that with my lettering. So what I did was I found a font that I liked for the Mother Teresa quote that I chose, and I printed it out on the computer. Now, this is printed correctly. It's backwards because of the camera, so you can print it the correct way, okay? And you could copy it from your computer if you wanted to, but we want to transfer it over to that tracing paper. If you don't have tracing paper, regular paper is fine. I'll show you kind of another way to do it. And then once you have everything that you want transferred onto your tracing paper, you might have had a day. So set that aside, and maybe you've got a lot, maybe you don't have any. Maybe that step was optional and you feel like, I don't really need it. So then you're going to roll out your clay. You can roll it out with your hands. It can just be a misshapen slab. And what I would like for you to do, you could take one of your transfers and you can lay it down on the piece. So I'm laying it down on there, and then I'm going to trace that try out different tools, see what works for you. You don't want an incise line, you want an indent. So I love a ballpoint pen or a dull pencil or an unclicked mechanical pencil. This one's kind of bulky. This one's probably my finest tip that I have. And then I'm going to trace over whatever lines I have on my tracing paper. And you can use that tracing paper several times, okay? If I don't have the tracing paper, I just have the white paper, you can put a layer of saran wrap in between your white paper. Now you have to push a little harder this way, so make sure to check to see when it's transferring. And then you can do that and transfer it the same way with the same tools. And what you should end up with, and you could do designs. You don't have to do text like me. You can do whatever you want. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah, you can. So it's an indent. What you don't want is something that you looked like you chose your needle tool. So you do not want those marks. You want an indent, not an incise. Okay, so we're not breaking the surface of the clay. We're just indenting it or marring it, if you want to think of it that way. Okay, once that is done, transfer something just so that you can see how it's done. And it could just be even a freehand transfer that you put down this and then you do a little design on the slab. Okay, then you're going to take your underglaze, and it's best to use a soft brush, but whatever you've got handy, and then we're going to coat that. All right, so we're going to coat it, and then we're going to let it dry. And if your clay is kind of damp, you might want to dry it out a little bit more before you transfer and before you do the underglaze. It's not going to hurt anything, it's just going to take a little bit longer. And I want to do 2 coats. I want to go one direction, let it dry, and then go another direction. And then I can just leave that out. So what you should be seeing is anywhere that you indented, it's going to start to fall in those lines, but you're not going to lose the indentation. So if you're losing the indentation because you're brushing, try a softer brush, or maybe wait for your clay to set up a little bit. Okay, and then post this. Remember, 2 coats, it's still wet, so I'm not going to have you wait for me to dry. Post this in your smooth pot to your slide, and we'll see you tomorrow for some little sgraffito. All right, have a good day.